No. They're first and second largest city or village in just
So nobody joined
Okay.
because they're able to join before we start the meeting. So
All right.
I don't see anybody, and we are recording now.
I'm waiting for you. Yeah. Very cheap. I don't think I see it. Okay, I've got 101. We'll open the Industrial Development Board meeting. Item on the agenda is we do have a forum. This item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from some meetings and any motion. I'll second it. Second. Aye. Thank you. Next item is the other than presenters that would like to make something. You want to present it? Somebody on Zoom? So that item is full. Now we will, begin the board review action on the 2024 fund application. We've had the town and unit of Baxter Police because we have a commitment to. The Hingo Police, but I can't really do it.
Oh. Communities here today. Oh, at this time. They are requesting hours.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you for allowing me to go first here. As I said, I have commitment, it's a personal commitment to our church Christian school. We got a big raffle thing this afternoon, late afternoon, which Bill Jarch is going to be our MC. So I'm all encouraged to go down there. He's quite the salesman. He's a pitch man. So I'm here to be pitching for the town of Neenah. The town of Neenah has 3,600 people in the town. It's not the largest town in Winnebago County, but maybe we're up there about the second or third in Winnebago County. Interesting enough, when we have to develop something, last year, several years, we always try to develop what would be the best infrastructure for roads and what have you. Last year, we did not get the amount that we had requested, and I understood why. You had some guidelines that I did understand. This year, I'll use an expression here. You always hear, well, I'm thinking out of the box, or we're going to do this thinking out of the box. When you really think about that saying, one of the most successful businessmen in the valley, for that matter, in the state of Wisconsin, said to me one time when I presented a plan to him, he says, "Bob, how come you're presenting this plan?" I says, "John," and somebody will pick up on this, "John, I was trying to think out of the box for your organization." This was John Bergstrom. John said to me, he says, "Why are you thinking out of the box?" What I tell my people is that when somebody comes into our store, our guests have something in their box that they want. And if we look what is in that box, rather than out of the box, we're gonna make a sale. So I'm presenting to you something in the town of Neenah's box. We have a piece of property that we've been trying to promote to various developers, but it has some drawbacks. So we have to look at all these drawbacks, but to get good handle on how to satisfy these drawbacks, we need a planner. Town of Neenah doesn't have a planner. Town of Neenah's mill rate is 91 cents per thousand. We can't afford a planner. So who is the planner for the town of Neenah? Person they elected, the town chairman. And I do have an administrator. Together with our clerk and our treasurer and myself and our board, we feel.
Last 3 digits printed on the signature panel on the back of your card.
Direction.
Paul,
Is
you
this-
want to mute yourself?
Is this like a commercial?
No, sorry.
Are we okay?
Yeah, go ahead. It's not us.
So what I'm saying is we don't have an in-house planner. My plan, if you will, is we have a parcel of land that is owned by the town of Neenah. What can we do with that piece of property that will give us economy, that will give us an investment for not only for the town of Neenah, but for others around that particular area? And it is something that is coming more and more in Wisconsin, a solar farm. 2 years ago, I was in a presentation for the Towns Association, in which they presented all kinds of what ifs, how to. One of the best first questions I ask, how big is small? Think about it. How big is small? Because when you see these solar farms, they're 1,000 acres or more. The first thing he said, well, what do you got? And I said, well, it's under 70 acres with a combination of our land and a neighbor. He says, we do it in 5 acre, 12 acre, 10 acre plots. I says, really? And then I said, we also have a location that is within the stone's throw of a peaking electrical plant. Really? Let's talk. So at this point, I'm saying to this group, is that I don't have an in-house planner. It's me. We have a good thought of what to do with this for the economics of not only the town of Neenah, but the surrounding group, whether it be industrial or what have you. So I am respectfully asking that you do grant us this $3,600 plus, which is just a drop in the bucket. Am I guaranteeing that we're going to get this project? No. Am I saying that this could very possibly be with the help of understanding what this needs to be put together? Yes, but I need your help. So I respectfully ask for this money, and I hope you can understand it. Are there any questions? George.
Mr. Chair. I'm pretty familiar with solar energy and this kind of situation. What you're in with the We Energies districts.
Pardon?
You're in the We Energies.
Yes.
District. You cannot, by state statute, you can't create your own solar energy and sell it to somebody else. So is the intent to work with We Energies to sell it back to the grid or what?
Well, that's why I'm working with outside consultants. Ranger Power is a group that has worked with several
They're big in
communities.
Michigan, I know.
I don't know where they're exact. They gave the presentation at the
Yeah.
Towns Association a couple of years ago. So that's the first step.
Okay.
I know that if you get over so many megawatts that the Public Service Commission has to be involved. So I did some of my homework, but I don't have it all put together yet.
Unfortunately, in the state of Wisconsin, we looked at that too. In the state of Wisconsin, they don't allow you to create your own power other than to use in your own facility. You can't sell it to anybody else unless it's part of We Energies.
I would question that,
That's
George.
true.
I would question that because I found out that you could sell it to a power company.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I said. You'd have to
Yeah,
work with We Energies.
yes, right.
And we have our own system at the village, of course, but it's connected to the grid. So that's the only way you could do it. So is that what you're thinking about or?
That's what I'm gonna find out.
Okay. We Energies will fight you on that one, so they'll want to put in their own. I know how it works. I'd like to see the statutes change. If you want to pursue, working, to change the statutes, that'd be great, because we have developers who would love to put in their own system supply of homes. And you can't do that, so, by statute right now, so. But be an interesting study. Not disagreeing with you on that.
John?
I'd like to make a motion and put it on the floor for discussion and possible action.
Okay, motion made for on the floor.
Second.
Motion made second.
Right, and then, a couple
Favor?
things.
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
All right, so there's I appreciate what you're asking for, and you're looking for a feasibility study.
Mhm.
And I think that's George, I think that study
That's what
might,
it sounds like.
yeah, what to answer a lot of those questions. The question that I have for you is this area that you're looking at, is it currently farmland?
Is currently idle land that we had leased out to farmer.
Okay,
On the east side is a cemetery. On the north side is an industrial area and a stormwater pond. On the west side is a idle piece of land, and on the south side is a few homes and a new road that we're gonna put in.
so this, and not that it's my business, I'm just asking,
Yeah.
so this land is not currently farmed?
Right. At present time, it is leased to farm, but it wasn't leased the last 2 years.
Right, and the only reason I bring that up is that, through the Board of Supervisors, we've had a couple conversations about farmland and solar and, are we converting, and I just want to make sure that since this is tax levy dollars that, comes to the board, that
I understand
that
that.
this is still in compliant with the
Yes.
policy direction that the board has set for me, my personal thing. So, I mean, if it's idle land, I'm okay with that.
That's what it is, President.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
And one more question. So it's a study. You may go somewhere else too. It depends on what happens.
I can't say yes, I can't say no,
Yeah,
George, you know that.
That's a study. I got you. All right.
The only question I have, I've been in situations where developers want to come in and put up solar farms and the neighbors don't like it. You got any pushback on that?
Well, as I just said, because of its location, at present time, there's like 3, maybe 4 residents that are even close to being affected by the location. The rest is non-residential. It's a cemetery, industrial site, and a stormwater pond.
Yeah, but even the farmer neighbors don't like it.
The farm community, the person that was farming it, it's way out in Clayton. He just happened to be leasing that thing years ago. And it's inconvenient for him to get there now because of equipment, road restrictions and what have you. So it's just been laying idle.
So you haven't had any people that are aware of what you're doing, you haven't had any pushback on it?
Nope.
Are they aware that it's in the offing?
There were some open conversations, but
Okay.
since it's relatively new, we haven't put it out on a public hearing or anything of that nature yet.
Any more discussion?
How large a piece of land is this?
Our personal piece of land for the town that the town owns is 37 acres.
Is that the piece of land you're considering?
Yes.
for this?
For
The
our
37
entity, yes.
37 acres of solar panel.
Well, obviously, if you know anything about solar panels at all, you got 100 acres, maybe 80 acres becomes the solar part of it. I don't know if you understand some of that. So what I understand is that if it's 37, maybe 25, 22 is actually gonna be the solar part of it. And that's why we would try to involve another entity or two that would be right adjacent. Again, it's a family-owned piece of property that was an old landfill and can't be used for anything. So there is potentials of upwards of 50 to 60 acres.
And the 3 or 4 residences that you talk about that are bordering a portion of that
Yeah.
property, are these large land? I mean, are we talking? No.
5 acres each at the most. And all their homes face to the south. And we got
Okay,
vegetation, small
a buffer?
wood buffer behind there. That is our land.
Any more questions?
And this dollar amount is going to secure the land, is that?
No, this dollar amount,
Feasibility study.
we have the land.
I just want to make the comment that I know last year we said, you know, I wanted to follow the rules. I want,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
this is the executive, it's my job to make sure that we're enforcing the rules that followed. It took us a while to get there for the town of Amro to be like, listen, let's just make this happen until we have the idea to revisit this. And the chairman, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe we're gonna have those conversations this year.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't have any objection, personally, with any of the, I guess, the trickier parts of the
Mm-hmm. I
rules that we have.
understand that.
So I'm willing to support this.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I'm not in favor of a solar power thing, but I will support the $3,648 to go to the town of Mina for their study on it. I'll make that.
Thank you.
Okay, motion made to support the town of Nina for this study. Second?
Second.
I'm sorry, Buck.
Buck.
Second.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Okay.
Motion is second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's passed.
Thank you
Robert.
very much. I appreciate it and I will keep you informed. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
All right, let's, back to the top of the list here. We have the city of Menasha, we have Diane.
Yeah, thank you. It's like a good spot to stand over there, folks. Door. All right, so again, for those that don't know me, I'm Sam Schrader. I'm the Community Development Director with the City of Menasha. First of all, I normally get to go first and get to be the first one to say thank you for obviously these funds. Every little bit does help. And just mentioned something to John, you know, as this group continues to look at this fund, if it continues in future years, I think we can all kind of attest in the economic development world that housing has certainly become part of economic development. You can't grow businesses without expanding the housing element, and it's at the top of the list with talent and recruitment and everything of that nature. So if this does get brought back forward in the future, just a potential consideration to consider that as an amendment to these funds later, because obviously a lot of staff time does go to that as well, in addition to other actual business and industrial economic development. Secondly, I was not present at kind of the past couple meetings, but the Industrial Revenue Board decision to kind of modify that program, I just want to say thank you again for that, because I'm hearing a lot of positive feedback on it. I've got it out to a lot of people. I don't think anybody has officially contacted GoEDC or submitted anything, but again, a lot of positive feedback, so I appreciate that concern. So just kind of, I won't get into any real specifics, but just kind of general City of Menasha. We're making some really great strides as this community as a whole. The perception of our community has really changed over the last three to 4 years. Previously it had a lot of negative connotation. We've invested a lot into the public infrastructure to really make sure it's a sense of place that people want to do business in the city of Menasha. So we've redone our Main Street. Last year we completed our new Racine Street Bridge. That is a lift bridge. We're in a lot of conversations with the DOT and the state regarding the ongoing maintenance of that aspect. This coming year, we'll actually be redoing Racine Street, so all the way from downtown up to the highway. Again, that's been a long time coming for that reason. But again, we've triggered some certain catalyst developments in downtown Menasha, and that in itself is putting a positive spin on the actual business growth and the individual capacity to want to do business in the city of Menasha. Just this past year, I think we have 8 new businesses located downtown with many more to come. In addition, we're constantly looking at that connectivity, and making a sense of place is really kind of triggering that growth and expansion in industry. This year, we're embarking on another project, the Water Street Connection Trail. So from the Menasha Locks right downtown, we're redoing that entire street, redoing the shore wall, adding to a pedestrian trail. And again, it's specifically designed to entice economic development growth. The Trestle Trail in the Loop to Lake around Little Lake Butamore sees roughly about 300,000 people, visitors a year. And so what we kind of are envisioning is getting those people to come across, or once Menasha Locks is open, to really kind of start to vision what is Menasha and draw them into our downtown to expand our businesses and additional growth in that matter. We did get a $500,000 EPA Brownfield Site Assessment Grant a couple of years ago, so we continue to implement that. And one of those is actually looking at the Shopko site. So that is owned by an out-of-state investor at this time. We are in constant conversations with them, but they are sitting on their feet a little bit in their hands. So what we're going to kind of do is we're going to kind of step in. We're going to probably spend about $5,000 on a conceptual plan to hopefully take that idle $1 million old retail site and hopefully put about $50 million worth of site development on it. Now, again, we need a lot of property owner interest in that, but again, steering them in this direction and then being able to get that out in front of developers in that fashion. We talk about BRE visits. I know that's directly located in here. This week we had a major announcement in the city of Menasha. Lakeside Book Company closed, 339 jobs. So one thing we're doing is, okay, how do we not know about this? Obviously, it's a huge company, so a lot of times local level we don't know about those. But then how do we transition? How do we get those folks into other jobs? And then what do we do with this empty building after that? The building itself is probably about 500,000 square feet, so that's going to be a huge industrial pull to put one individual tenant in there. But we've already reached out to several different developers that could either potentially tear down and replace with new industrial, kind of the big box, tall ceiling warehousing type aspect, or we could flip it. We have a couple industries that are at that point of needing to expand. So could they split it and both fill half of it, and again, continue to grow the business in the city of Menasha? So again, that's kind of high level of what's happening in Menasha. I could probably sit here for another hour and give you details, but I won't bore you with all that.
So is there a motion to bring it for the second?
Make a motion.
I'll second.
Second, motion made. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
So any discussion?
It's good.
I don't see any hands
Oh, I
raised.
have one.
Yeah.
In your packet here, you have, you continuing the library renovation, or is that started, or is that going on right now?
Yeah, so we have a benefactor in the community that really wanted to bring this Menasha library beyond what libraries are accustomed to as being. Books on shelf, quiet places. So the library of the future is really kind of to activate that space, add more conference rooms to be able to be more of a community center, add the technologies to really be that mitigation or next level between kids leaving high school into that entrepreneurship aspect. So it was supposed to be a 2025 project. We're moving it up to 24. So it's about an $8 million project, $3 million funded from the city of Menasha, $5 million private. I continue to be told it's starting June 1. We haven't even seen a plan yet, but that's how active this is. So I continue to say, let's push for September 1 and let's make this happen. But how those things go. It is going to happen. Complete library renovation. We're going to move our library to a temporary location. We're working on some lease agreements right now. Again, just to move a library is probably about $150,000 one way. So I mean, it's a pretty big undertaking. But again, I think at the end of it, it is geared around Menasha being a sense of place of how do we continue to want folks to live here and do business here, and then also that entrepreneurship arm of open your business here, right where you grew up, and what better place.
Thank you.
So where is the plan to move the library?
Couple different sites. One of those is kind of up in the Shopko area. That's likely where it will land. Obviously, it's still in Menasha. They have the space. And it's still along like the bus route. So both of those sites are on that same bus route. So again, we, from a feasibility standpoint of getting people to that location, we feel it's very feasible because it's probably about, again, benefactors saying 6-month construction. I say it's probably about 9 to 12. So we'll see how that goes.
6 months.
Anyone else?
Heard that.
Motion to approve, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
All right, our next, location is for the city of Neenah for 27,408.
Good afternoon, I'm Brad Schmidt, I'm the Deputy Director of Community Development. I know Chris Hayes has typically done this, I'm filling in for him today. Just wanted to start off again, echoing what Sam had said. You know, the funds that we do receive have continued to support our economic development efforts and continue to strengthen the local economy. You can see in our packet, we listed a number of items that occurred in 2023 relative to economic development. I'll kind of highlight some of those. 2023 was a very, very successful year for the city of Neenah. We continue to see industrial growth in our industrial park. We amended tip number 9 to support and retain Edgewater Door. Edgewater Door is located in the city and has been for a number of decades. They are planning to relocate into the industrial park, build a 40,000 square foot manufacturing facility, increase their employment levels, and also possibly relocate some out-of-state operations to Neenah. Rollmeister Incorporated, which is located in the industrial park as well, went through a major expansion this year. Galloway Company, which has been in the city for over 100 years. They are continuing to expand their operations for efficiencies and to increase their production facility. They're currently constructing a new building addition, which includes a new evaporator. So again, that really helps with their production and also solidifies them as a major employer in the city. Data Care Medical Regional Center, Medical Center has completed over $100 million ER expansion and modernization of their hospital. We remember back maybe 5-6 years ago, there's a good chance that hospital could have located outside of the city. So we're certainly happy with their continued investment. We saw the closures of TIF 5 and TIF 6, which of TIF 5 is in our downtown, TIF 6 is in our industrial park. That generated over $44 million in tax base for the city, created over 3,000 jobs, including the construction of the Plexus manufacturing facility. In addition, it generated over $1 million in excess revenue, which was then redistributed amongst the 4 taxing entities. One of the benefits of the closing of a TIF district is the state allows you to keep it open for 1 year for affordable housing extension. So we are able to capture nearly $800,000 to be used for improving our housing stock and make housing more affordable in the city. I'm happy to announce that the council recently adopted our Houses in the Homes program, which will provide grants and no interest loans to single family and 2-family properties in the city, so that they can do housing projects, redo a kitchen, bathrooms, things of that nature, with the goal of improving and increasing home ownership, stabilizing neighborhoods, and ultimately improving the housing stock. 2024, starting off on a really strong note, we currently have about 85 acres of city-owned industrial land that we've been trying to market for going on decades now. We're very close to announcing 2 development agreements with 2 manufacturing facilities that will take up about 65 of those acres. So that is very exciting. I will say that we have had a lot of industrial interest over the last couple months. It's a little bit strange from my standpoint because we didn't really have a lot, and all of a sudden we've got a number of that. So we're really excited about that, and I think that really goes to show the state of the industrial economy here in Neenah and in the 5 cities and Winnebago County. We are also going to be creating TIF number 13 that will help support some of the development that I had just mentioned. As we look at, and you can see in the packet, the breakdown of some of the use of the IDB funds that we've used. We recently completed our downtown Neenah plan, Neenah Next. This is a visionary document that really identified where the downtown will be in the next 20 years. Through that plan, we've identified a number of redevelopment sites that really offer a lot of potential for continued growth of the downtown. These funds will help market those sites, work with developers, and provide them the information they need to develop those sites. From business retention standpoint, we are constantly meeting with our major employers within the city. We continue to hear that talent attraction is a major concern, primarily when it comes to housing and workforce housing. So we're looking at also initiating a housing study and needs analysis to identify how do we improve our affordable housing stock and really get an idea of what our housing market is in the city. So with that's kind of a quick summary. Again, I thank you for your funding, and it continues to support our economic development efforts, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Make a motion for discussion.
Motion made for discussion. Second?
Second.
Second, all in favor, aye?
I think my question is more for Corporation Council. Thank you. First of all, it's exciting to hear the things that are going on. There's a lot of growth going on between you and Menasha as well, and Fox Crossing Church. Not trying to leave you out. And me and Sam were talking about our frustrations that it's unclear whether this money can be used for housing. And I see right here in our own rules, all allocations per capita funds are at the discretion and approved of the Winnebago County Industrial Development Board. All fine. But my question to Mary Ann is, does the statute in IDB allow us to use these monies for housing projects, or if they need to divert that? Maybe my question is, are you planning on using this money in a housing study?
It's one possibility. The other possibility is an economic development strategy.
All right. If you can promise me that that's where you'll focus this money for, I'm much more comfortable on that. I still want to make sure we're following the statute.
Sure, we can certainly commit to that.
Okay. No further questions.
You're right, there would be a problem.
Right.
But if you're making the commitment.
We will commit to that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Andy?
Yeah, it's exciting that you mentioned the two other industrial projects are nearing announcement. I don't know how much you can elaborate on that. Is this going to be manufacturing? I would say that, we're pretty proud very proud in the Fox Valley. We still make stuff here. I think we're the second highest manufacturing district out of the 435 congressional districts. So when you say industrial, are you manufacturing facilities, or what are you talking about, or can you elaborate?
Yeah, I can say one is more of a warehouse, but they lease the tenants that do possibly have light manufacturing or manufacturing capabilities. The other one is not, it's industrial, not necessarily manufacturing, that they're creating anything. Without getting in a whole lot of detail, it is an existing company that we're able to retain here in the valley. And with it, it's an advanced manufacturer that they're able to use more, advanced technology for their processes. So it'll make what they do much more efficient, but also be able to retain them here in the valley.
So they'll be building two facilities on those, or more
Two
than that?
separate, yeah, two separate entities. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Anybody else?
Make a motion to approve.
Right, any second? Seconded, any more discussion? Anyone, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Brad. Next, we have the city of Armo, Stephen Klein. They are requesting $3,611.
I will start off by saying every time I come, because goes alphabetical, city. Coming after Nina and Menasha, like for Amro, because we're like 3,600 people, I'm always like, but we do stuff, and that's what this money helps. So grateful for the past support, because ultimately it goes to my position. I'm the staff for the economic development. And with it in the past, we're down to one available lot in our industrial park, which is exciting because things are happening. Now the focus has become, we need to expand. We need to find places that we can put more. And also part of the focus this year is helping, because a lot of our businesses, a lot of the people who bought the lots over the years, they have run into the fact that building costs are higher than originally anticipated. So it's taking a little bit longer, but we are finding resources and helping them find grants and find funding. So that's what part of this will go to this year. We have a new administrator this year, and he's very excited about the economic development. He's excited about expanding. He's excited about the industrial park. And so a lot of this year is refocusing. Part of my job in the past has been tied to our chamber. That's no longer, that's a separate entity now. It's not tied to the city. So my job can actually focus more on economic development as opposed to before it was split between economic development and assisting the chamber. So downtown, we have a new owner for the bowling alley. So that is exciting because they've revamped it. So it's not only historical, but it's a nice anchor business downtown. We only currently have 3 vacant buildings. One is under negotiations, so hopefully that's down to 2. Our part of this too will go to our bid. Well, I'm tied to our bid. I'm the bid director, and so getting more resources to our downtown businesses, getting resources to all of our businesses. Also working on solutions for office space. Everyone wants office space, but we don't have available buildings for office space. A lot of this too goes to marketing for the businesses, marketing the city. We just got a new website, and I'm currently working on a business resource page so that businesses have a spot they can go to besides coming to me, because sometimes everybody likes to go to the internet first. So that's a landing page. We're getting new welcome signs this year. And we're also working on, we have a couple different mediums that we're using. We're going to start a column in our local newspaper, and we're also going to start a podcast so that we can connect and give people more resources and let them know what we're about. Because I think sometimes with government, people are leery. But we don't want that. We want them to come to us, and we want to help. So yeah, revamp. 2024 is about revamping.
I move to bring this to the floor
Okay, motion made, to bring to the floor.
To the floor for action.
or for discussion. Or if there's no, just, we can certainly say for action.
Okay, for action.
I'll second that.
Second, all right. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any discussion?
We did.
I think we're just.
We just
Yeah, we just picked.
Your fault.
Mhm.
We are in a state where we have a motion to give questions and approve. I don't see any further discussion. Is there another motion? Motion to award. Motion to award made.
I'll second it.
Motion made second. Any discussion
Let's
on
go with it,
that?
George.
Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed?
All right. Our next allocation is for Greater Oshkosh Economic Development Corporation. And there's a number of communities or towns that have allocated their funding to Greater Oshkosh. We requested $88,380. Start Tricia. Go.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Just want to reiterate, thank you again for this program and all the support that we get from this committee as well as the county and efforts that we make to support economic development here in Winnebago County. So I just try to scale this down to make sure we're saving on more paper for you guys, and because you see this from us every year. When our Greater Oshkosh EDC continues to focus on our 4 core areas, which is business retention and expansion, workforce development, entrepreneurship, and the target sectors for development. We've actually enhanced our strategic plan to include community development. And when we talk about those target sectors, because we continue to find that businesses are looking for places that have people and people are going to places that are interesting. And that's where community development comes in. So just to highlight a few key accomplishments for 2023 before I talk about what we're looking at for 2024. We, in 2023, of course, are continuing to work with business expansion. I think that we've had a lot of projects come forward and go through. Some of them have started and some of them are still in progress. But at one point last year, we had about over $150 million of active projects in the works coming through our office, industrial, larger projects. So we also continue to work with the Winnebago County Rapid Recovery Loan. We had 14 of those businesses successfully complete their payments last year, which continues to make us feel good about that recovery that we've made and the support that we had. This, again, attributed to this committee to put those funds forward. So many of them have come forward and said we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for what those funds did for us. So, and then of course the other partners that we had in that program as well. Continuing on that workforce, we were part of the Dream Up cohort, which was applied to the greater Oshkosh region. That group created 146 new childcare spots last year. We were able to start one of our really great rural efforts was to have a rural career day in our high schools, focused getting them into those childcare and early childhood type careers. Talking a little bit about entrepreneurs, one of the things that we did last year was worked with WEDC. They actually built and they're growing their rural prosperity branch. So we worked with them on how we can different feedback and different programs that would help and support our rural communities better. And then the other thing I want to highlight from our targeted community development was, Go EDC continues to respond to site selection for the entire county. So when we have site selection come in, we'll select properties across the county to support whether it's regional or local focused. And we had a total of 20 statewide or regional ones and 12 local site selections that we worked through last year to help them find and locate in the region. So, and then I think the other thing that was really great to talk about too is last year was the 5-year anniversary of our public transload here in Oshkosh. We held an event and tried to get more information out to all of our communities that this is something that isn't just for Oshkosh, it's in Oshkosh, but it's actually available to all over. So we actually reached out to, about a 6-county region to tell them that this asset was here and available for them to increase usage of that transload. So looking forward in 2024, I think we're going to continue settling onto those key strategic plan items and implementing those across the region. Something else that I wanted to mention is that right now the state Senate has a bill that's coming up that would modify our business development tax credits. This is something we've been talking about for many years. If this goes forward, and I should mention, we've actually, Senator Fine from our area is the one who put it forward. We gave him specific examples of how these tax credits haven't worked for projects here in Winnebago County, both rural and urban projects. So that was kind of what helped bring that forward. If this bill is passed, it's going to change the way that our business development tax credits from the state will actually work and will make many, many more projects eligible, especially in our rural communities. So we're looking forward to that as, talk about what part of what this program does is allow professional economic development staff to serve communities that can't have one their own. We're really looking forward to how we can go into those communities and help those businesses with projects access these funds and utilize these funds applied for them. So that's going to be a big thing in 2024 if that goes forward. We have already started working on the promotion of the program. So not that this is necessarily specific to our application, but it's a time for me to just give you guys an update. We have lovely new flyers for the program. We're also hosting a commercial banker. I think we have 13 different institutions coming to a commercial banker kind of lunch and learn next week. But since we launched this a month ago, we've already had 15 active inquiries with 4 to 5 that look like they could be promising prospective projects to apply for this program. So clearly this was something that was needed and people are very excited about it. So getting that out there, but then also that's going to open the door for us to work with more businesses on what their expansion plans do look like and what they're going forward to. And then of course also that the Oshkosh Aviation Park continues to benefit all of Winnebago County through the Women Regional Airport. We want to continue to work with the county staff on promoting that piece of property and hopefully getting some development there as well. So any questions?
Motion to discuss?
Yep, motion.
Motion made,
Second.
all in favor?
On the aviation, business park out there, I've been, talking about this for a long time, I guess. talking with the airport director and sounds like sometimes we have something that may be in the mix and then it falls apart, I guess. Are we the right community for this? I mean, this has been going on for almost, I don't know, 15, 20 years. Obviously it's gonna be, it seems to me that it would be a great, addition to our community. We have EAA, we have a huge airport, we have the infrastructure to do that. I guess I'm just, expressing my frustration that, we're, as we all are, that, what are we doing wrong in this avenue to attract that legacy or that anchor business out there on the airport?
Yeah, we actually talked about this with my board of directors last year as well. And I think when we talked about this, it started about 10 years ago. I think 2014 is when the park was officially established. And we did put I think there's been a lot of rockiness to it. And I would say that really this initiative probably hit a restart in 2021, 22, because after COVID, after not having AirVenture for a year, is when I came onto the team and we started diving into this again and realized, we looked at that strategy and a lot of effort had been made, but it didn't gain ground, and we kind of identified why it wasn't. And one of the big things was having an identifiable brand that we could market with, having an identified focus. So we put a lot of effort in 2022 into building that, 21 and 22 into building that brand, and have now been making a more concerted effort. One of the things that was surprising to us when we went out and AirVenture came back in 21, and I worked for EA, a lot of those contacts, and I'm talking to people that should know about it and didn't, right? So I don't think we were reaching the right markets. We were in the right spot yet. So thanks, Kath. She's hanging on to this. So this is the branding that we've done for that aviation park, and it is a complete, piece of that we're putting together. So what we feel like right now is we want to put a true marketing effort behind this to see if it is marketable.
Yeah.
I think if we don't get where we want to go with the money that we're investing into this, then we start looking at, is this the right is it the right use of land? Is the right property? Do we need to maybe change what we're doing? We've also been evaluating kind of the regulations and how we implemented the regulations on that property to see if it can be more effective. Right now, the way it's laid out, it might not be the most effective way to make this an effective aviation park. So we've been working with Jim on that, as well as the city staff, because it is within the city of Oshkosh, so it's in their codes and their regulations. So, yeah.
Wonderful. I mean.
Yeah, you want to interject, Scott?
That's nice. I mean, we hear about this. How long have we been hearing about this? And the first time we've seen anything like this, and then we're doing something on this, and it just gets a little frustrating, I say, from our end. It's like, what's happening? So thank you.
I was gonna say, the city is frustrated, the airport is, I mean, we all share that frustration, right? Because you've got this property dedicated to a very specific identified target sector that we haven't been able to break into.
Yeah, the other thing I want to add to this whole project would be the fact that since the rebrand, we've really put a really strong effort towards marketing right now too. So we're working on a strategy along with Whitman Regional Airport. We actually have a plan where it's always really easy to market around AirVenture timeframe, but we're thinking outside of that. So outside of AirVenture, how do we market this project? How do we continue to get that engagement year round? So those are all efforts that we're working on right now as well.
And actually next week, we're meeting with WEDC to talk to them about their specific effort on the aviation industry as well, and how they can partner with us in marketing this property.
That haven't taken a tour of the airport, there's just more that meets the eye out there. And I think that there's a lot of folks in the community that have no idea what's going on out there and the potential out there. So thank you for your work.
Yeah, so we do have a LinkedIn page that has been recently set up for Oshkosh Aviation Park. So if you're on LinkedIn, I encourage you to follow it, because we're going to start putting a lot more out there, content related. So more updates to come.
And we're really like, the reason why we call it, obviously it's the Winnebago County property or, airport. We called it Oshkosh Aviation Park really to lead into that EA connection too, right? We want people to see that as, that's what they identify. When they hear Oshkosh, they don't think of the city of Oshkosh, they think of the air show in the aviation world. So we're leaning into that.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just want to chat. I'm going to be abstaining from this vote simply because I'm on your board, but I do appreciate everything you do.
So any further discussion? Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion made and second to approve. Any discussion? None, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Tricia.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And then I'll abstain.
All right. Now we have the Oshkosh Chamber, Colin. There's an allocation of $2,419 for the Oshkosh Chamber, which is the allocation from the town of Oshkosh.
Very good. Yes, I'm Colin Trumbull. I'm the Oshkosh Chamber of Commerce Economic Development Director. I was in front of you guys for the first time last year, so maybe some of you guys remember me, but our 2024 program of work for the Economic Development Program should be in the packet, as well as our 2023 annual report, highlighting some different things, but just want to quickly kind of touch on a few things that may pop out to you. In 2023, we focused a lot on entrepreneurship, business planning assistance, and financing assistance. It was a really big year for small businesses and entrepreneurs that are trying to start businesses in Oshkosh for us. So a lot of mentorship that came with that. Existing business development activities, business attraction, site selection, market analysis, which also comes along with a lot of demographic help. Developer support, and we work closely with a lot of community banks to kind of keep in the know of what the market's going on, what they think, what they see is coming, different projects down the pipeline, things like that. We also work heavily with regional EDOs such as New North or New Rep, kind of staying in touch with the incentives and the initiatives, I guess, they have going on to make sure that we can stay on top of it and promote what they're doing as much as possible from a Northeast Wisconsin region. As well as a big thing that we focused on was Amplify Oshkosh. I think majority of you guys maybe have heard of Amplify before, but in 2013, we established this as a tech consortium to influence the technology sector in Oshkosh and the Fox Valley region. And it's been fantastic for us. And so this past year was great for that as well. Some specific numbers on that, for 2023, we had 72 business cases, 35 startups, 15 project wins, 16 site tours, and 170 calls relating to business and market inquiries. So again, that's pretty average for what we've been doing for the past 10, 15 years. Kind of right where we want to be. Obviously, the more the better, but that's kind of where the standard is and what we have been doing for the past several years. But few specific projects that you may have, that we were directly involved with. Maxon Corners and Merge Urban Development, that's kind of not necessarily old news, but you guys have heard of that before, obviously. But Maxon Corners was recently finished back in 2023, or previously in 2023, with their 74 units there with Merge Urban Development. The Chamber had the privilege of introducing them to the city back in 2017, and they also did the Brio building, Maxon Corners, and then they're also in the phases of planning their third and final phase. So trying to kind of get that past the finish line there. Rhyme Office Solutions was a company we helped on a variety of different levels, but also helped with site selection assistance along with Go EDC as well, to kind of find their new place on Jackson Street. Tequiza Mexican Cuisine was actually one of the first prospects I helped as a newcomer to the chamber, so it was kind of interesting, but helped them through a lot of different things with its business planning, financing, marketing, and ultimately finding their new spot at the old Benvenuto site. So great owners with them there. The Homey Hub, which may be something that you guys maybe not have heard of before, but we helped this woman kind of fulfill her dream of opening up it originally started as a life enrichment center and an adult daycare type idea. And so we helped find her spot down on the Old Lake Air Center on Oregon Street, as well as business planning, finances, things like that. But ultimately, her business model has changed to more of a indoor playground and cafe for the younger individuals, because we constantly got complaints and still get complaints that there's not a whole lot to do during the winter inside for little kids. So she altered her business model. She's thriving down there, so that's fantastic. Oshkosh Avenue development, we helped obviously developer support from the Mr. Bruce Tap House and True Hotel by Hilton. And then the Oshkosh Chambers Revolving Loan Fund, which has been a staple for many years. 15 years back, we developed this revolving loan fund. It's helped over 35 businesses within our community, kind of more on the micro size level of loan programs, but it's been a little bit more of a quiet year in 2023 regarding this program, but we have a lot of prospects that are right on the pushing point. We just kind of have to guide them and teach them a little bit more and get to the point where we can help them with that financing. Going back to Amplify, again, it's a great program. It was a great year. We had 7 events in 2023. We have over 900 members that we've touched throughout the past decade. Several area sponsors, 13 of them to be in fact throughout the Fox Valley region. We actually have our annual conference coming up on April 9th, all involving artificial intelligence. We have 4 national speakers coming, which would be fantastic. We have the most registrations we've had this early before the event since I think my boss, Rob Clayman, said for the past 6 years. So that's fantastic. And we put a little bit of an economic development twist on it. It is an economic development initiative, but we have a speaker from Whitley coming in from Ohio to talk about AI and manufacturing and kind of transitioning from a labor force heavy manufacturing to more of an automation standpoint. So it'll be interesting nonetheless. And you guys are all invited. If you guys want to send me an email, I'm more than happy to get you on the list. So moving on and kind of wrapping up, like Tricia said there with GoEDC, we were part of the $75,000 Dream Up grant, which helped a lot of childcare facilities do things that maybe they wouldn't be able to do otherwise without that funding. So that was great. Our talent and education department is coordinating a senior talent track. Now, this is super interesting and something relatively new for us at the chamber with our education department. We essentially what it is, it's a event focused on seniors in high school that do not have a plan. So there's tons and tons of students that already know that they're going to college, whether it be a 4-year, a 2-year, maybe they're going to the military, maybe they have a job lined up at maybe their parents', restaurant or work. But these is specifically for people who do not have a plan. So we have over 50 businesses lined up for entry-level positions and about the same number of students that will be coming through and seeing that there are more than just going to college, going to the armed forces or other things like that. So that'll be super interesting. Kind of wrapping up again, we'll continue to proactively market our region. That's kind of what these funds have been used for and will be used for. We had a December site selection or site selector trip planned for Atlanta, Georgia. However, we didn't necessarily get the right number of site selectors to commit to it. So we didn't want to go there and waste a trip with just 10 to 15 site selectors. So we pushed that off and that'll be coming in 2024. However, I am planning on going down to the ICSC Las Vegas Commercial Real Estate Convention in May, where there'll be thousands of attendees and commercial real estate people and franchises to kind of market Northeast Wisconsin as a whole, as well as Oshkosh. So that'll be great. And I promise this last one, we supported the WEDI statewide study on childcare. If you guys haven't seen that yet, Baker Tilly was able to do that, and it created a statewide report on kind of the challenges and difficulties that we have in the state of Wisconsin regarding childcare. Because as all of you guys know, it goes housing, childcare, more, right? So it's right up there with a big problem. But we were able to support that. I actually got the opportunity to lobby on behalf of the childcare tax credit bill that would essentially give a tax credit to employers that offer employee benefits in regarding to childcare for that. So I was able to talk through WEDA and kind of push the needle a little bit more in favor of that bill and kind of push it over the finish line, hopefully. And then, that's where I'll wrap it up. But again, we appreciate it. Always the past support. It means a lot to us. Again, with a nonprofit being the chamber, every penny we can get to kind of keep our operations going and make sure we do everything we can for our community is massive. We'll continue to proactively market the area. That's what these funds will be used for, as well as kind of the Amplify Consortium and market of that, to build that sector, as well as everything else. So if you guys have questions, more than happy to share some light when I can. Thank you again.
Anybody have a motion?
Motion.
Motion for discussion?
Sure.
All right.
Second.
Second?
Second.
Second? Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Discussion?
Very interested in that program that you said about the 4 the students that are getting out of high school that are looking for a career. What is that called again?
The senior talent track.
Senior talent track. And does that run through the chamber?
Yep. So we, as a chamber, we contract with the Oshkosh Area School District and have for, and don't quote me on this, but I think it's the past 5 or 6 years. And so we help do things like career fairs, school to work programs, youth apprenticeships, things like that to get businesses and more involved with the school district. And this has been a new idea. I think we got it from out of state, the idea from it, or maybe it was in state. I'm not necessarily sure, but again, trying to focus on kids that don't have a plan. Yeah.
And your part of it is kind of getting the businesses involved with this?
Correct.
Recruiting the businesses, and how many did you say you had?
We have around 50 right now.
Okay.
So ranging from manufacturers, primarily manufacturers and entry level positions, whether that be in admin or on the service line, things like that.
Thank you.
Yep.
John,
How long is your waiting list on Leadership Oshkosh this year?
We got a heavy waiting list.
I appreciate you holding a spot for Winnebago County.
There you go.
any other questions?
Make a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, need a second.
Second?
Motion in second, any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Pass, thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next allocation is, the town of Layton for $4,269. I don't see the town present, anyone's in the town. Julie, is there somebody, no, there's nobody.
Just Paul.
All right, so, what's your pleasure as far as addressing the application?
Well, sorry, I mean, I was going to speak in favor of them, but unfortunately they're not here. So we're partners with them.
Is there like a motion to maybe table it and see if they show up?
Possible.
Motion made to table until the representative attends one of our meetings. And that was seconded.
I did, yeah, Mike Morris.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's passed, table.
The next one is the town of Amro, and we do have Brian Knoll. We are requesting $2,262. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, good afternoon. I am Brian Knoll, the town chairman, for those that don't know me. I think last year we successfully made the case that while we don't have to pay a planner, we're fortunate enough to have a retired planner that lives in the town and he's part-time for us, so eventually we met that criteria. As many of you know, we have been working along the Highway 21 corridor in anticipation of the roundabouts coming and trying to get ahead of some of that and facilitate growth in that area. We've been working with the sanitary district to try to get utility extensions as part of that highway work so that we're not having to dig through or under a highway that's just built. And we continue to communicate with the DOT to try to collaborate on how that process is going to move forward. So this coming year, we're hoping to continue many of those activities, try to finish up a plan for that corridor and create a developer's plan for people to look at and get an idea how they go about developing that area. It's going to be compatible with the surrounding neighbors, so there's not all the objections when it does come forward. And I guess having a planner has kind of led us into probably doing some other things for economic development. We've been working with Wisconsin Tubing as they've expanded a little bit this year and are looking at potential additional growth. So we've been working with them to make that happen, modify some of our plans to facilitate that. And while it may not be considered industrial, I mean, we have one of the mega farms, milk source dairy in the town, and they also have some plans and needs. So we've been trying to work with them and really partner with them in a few aspects as well. So it being late on Friday, I won't drone on. We are a small town, but we do take it seriously and are trying to make an effort to do some of these things.
Motion.
Make a motion. Can I make a motion for approval?
I would think so.
All right, motion for approval?
I'll second that.
Motion made to approve, any discussion?
I just have one thing. In your comments here, Brian, you say some might not consider farming, building it, but I would say anytime you're building something, you're putting people to work. Absolutely, 110%, that's economic development.
And I guess I make that case in defense of many of the towns. I think all towns could do this if they got to start at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anyone else? Motion made to approve, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Yeah, thanks for putting me down.
the next one is, George with the Village of
Not quite.
Fox Cross.
I'm not quite sure.
For $19,008.
Thank you. Well, thank you all. I mean, again, like everyone else has said, this is a good program. We appreciate the funds. We've been using it for years to augment our economic development efforts. I won't go into all the detail of others that have provided. And we know the housing issue is important. We're not using the funds for that purpose. We know that zoning is important. And actually, we're working on, this year we'll be working on amending our zoning code or redeveloping it to further support housing and in addition, other economic development efforts to simplify things. And the last year, we of course saw the opening of the Nina High School, which is in the village. That, although that is not directly economic development, it supports and encourages additional retail and other development in the surrounding area. We, like others, are seeing issues with facilities. We've been fortunate in the village not to have to deal with a completely shut down facility until the Clearwater paper shut down. So that was unique in that a very old facility, originally a Kimberly Clark facility, extreme, the 1800s history for that building. It was unfortunate to see that happen, but I saw that forthcoming. But fortunately, we've seen a reuse of that. They're right now remodeling it for storage and some office areas. So that's been a positive. We've had that happen with other closed facilities as well. We also have some other facilities like others do. We've got the former Kimberly Clark office building that's located on North Lake Street. However, I can't talk about the details, but we do have some interest in some reuse for some kind of industrial type use. That's a real positive. We'll continue to work with them. That will probably be a tax and financing district if they come forward. There's, like others, we hear a lot of interest in things. We work to try to provide assistance, but it takes time, as we all know. So, in addition, we've got the former Pitney Bowes building. We've had discussions with that. Unfortunately, a lot of the uses that people want to make of older buildings like that is mini storage. We have an ordinance that limits that use of that for that purpose. You have to have office as well. I've not heard anything yet from them, but that's probably one of the potential uses. The greatest challenge, which many are finding, is old office buildings. Appleton's finding that a challenge, as we are as well. We've got the former SCA Tissue Building, really nice two-story office building. The one if you drive by has the wind turbines that are no longer functioning. We've had discussions with the owner of that. So far, no luck. Those are hard reuses, but we're working on that. We fortunately or unfortunately, don't have a lot of retail. That's a real challenge right now. If you've seen in the Grand Chute area, one of the things that's unique about us is we're right on the border, as you know. So we work directly with the city of Appleton. We work with the chamber there. So I'm going to hear the discussions about attraction of new talent. That's something the Appleton Chamber does as well. And we're village is directly involved with that also. So it's always interesting to have that situation where Oshkosh, Appleton, we're kind of closer to that area, but we try to link those things together. And that's why I'm glad I'm on the Industrial Development Board to help with those linkages. Some of the other things going on, of course, we're working for further attraction, putting together additional materials for business attraction. Again, the town of Clayton did not do a presentation, but we are supplying them with water and sewer. So they're seeing some new economic development there as well from our utilities, which is a positive for the region, albeit we would rather have it in the village, but it's not. And that's a good relationship we have with them, which I'm sure they'll talk about at a future meetings. Let's see. We continue to update our promotional materials. Again, we're part of in addition to the Fox Cities Economic Development Partnership, which is a promotional entity, which you've heard discussions before. I think they came to one of these meetings in the past asking for money. And then, in addition, we have a number of TIDs in the village. We have 5, which have been very successful, other than one, which was for a medical facility that did not happen. So that's sitting vacant, but the rest are doing extremely well. We have a medical strip that's going along well. OSMS and others are there. We provided funds for Cobblestone Hotel, Wall Logistics, and those sorts of things, which are doing well right now. So again, the kind of the efforts will continue. Housing, as I said, is certainly a challenge. We have one, in fact, what I was leaving, I'm working on a memo for a new 58 lot subdivision. But they're very challenging right now. Any other communities know. It's small, we've done a TID or I'm sorry, a PUD to allow reduced lot sizes. There are limited funds available at the state level, which have proven very helpful. And I agree, it's something we might want to look at in the long run to look at whether we can use funds for that purpose as well, because without residential, you can't, it's very difficult to get additional commercial industrial. So let's see, we've also continue on with regulation reform. And again, we do not have an industrial park, but we are continuing to promote areas for that purpose, and we'll provide TIDs for that when it is deemed appropriate. So I guess to cut it short, the funds will be utilized for as required by the current policy for economic development efforts. It provides funding for staff to promote things, and in addition to promotional materials, which you can see in the documentation. So for that, I'm open for questions or.
Make a motion for discussion.
Motion for discussion. Second? Second. All in favor? Aye.
All right. Yeah, I appreciate everything you said. And again, it's exciting. I understand some of the challenges. A personal frustration on my end is the Clearwater site.
Oh, yes.
The location itself's gorgeous.
Yes, it is.
Right? And I remember when that closed down, I went to NACO, the National Association of Counties, and at the end of that NACO convention, we toured the Stanley Marketplace.
Right.
No, Stanley Marketplace, was an old manufacturing
We
plant.
actually had a proposal for that.
Correct, I know, and it was just so hard, and I wish we could have helped. Me too, I wanted that so bad.
We actually looked for TID money, unfortunately, and I can't really speak to the people involved, but they just didn't have enough money to make it work.
Well, and
summarize it that way. They
and
weren't capitalized adequately.
And that's one of the projects, which really spurred why I said the IDB needs to be sometimes more intentional.
Yes.
And that sometimes you need a little bit more help than just maybe the Fox Cities Chamber or somebody
Well,
else.
that was before the loan program that you
Correct.
modified.
Yes.
Which has been very helpful.
Right, would have been very helpful. And I think, for those of you who don't know, the Stanley Marketplace is like an incubator for small businesses. So it's this old manufacturing plant that they made it so all these little businesses could pop up. There is one solid POS system for everybody to use. You can have a barcode and go shopping with it and give people gift certificates. That's what NACO did for us. You can use it anywhere. It was awesome. It was cheap for retail or whatever it was. There was everything from a dentist to a judo place to a jewelry store.
Right.
All in this thing. And the vision, George, I think you agreed with me, was perfect. Right.
And in fact, we were hoping to include the Kimberly Clark facility as well for housing.
Right.
I've tried to encourage that, but actually the new potential use, if it flies, will be very positive.
Okay. And that was my next point, is that it spurred all this housing development around the Stanley Marketplace. That was just gorgeous.
I concur with you.
Right. And those are things when I think when we see a unique situation in the counties, how do we get around that? How do we join with Fox Crossing and how we make something really amazing happen there and get some funding? So
we talked about, we wish that we could have purchased the building and done that, but we just couldn't at that point in time. So,
agreed.
No, I understand that one was disturbing to me, but the good thing is we do have a use that's still viable.
Right, absolutely.
Because it could have just sat there and we could have had to tear it down, which was the next step we're looking at.
Right.
So you talk about, I think you referenced older office buildings and how, so was there ever any thought to perhaps repurposing it for housing? For apartments?
We talked about that there's some new state programs. They're just not very effective though. We talked about housing. The hard part is just like I know Nina had that issue and I think it was Menasha, the issue was the Shopko building. They're very hard. First of all, they hold on to them for a period of time. That's the case with the building, the SCA Tissue building. It's was leased to them. So it's a leaser that owns it and they're not really excited about doing things. The same with the is the case for the Pitney Bowes building, so. Because we thought of that reuse, although that's not ideal for housing.
Right.
So you gotta work with them too, unfortunately.
Mhm.
Like to make a motion for approval?
Second.
Motion made for approval and second. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm abstaining.
Good idea.
I
have always.
I do appreciate that you guys took a look at the Stanley Marketplace.
Oh, yeah.
Sad we couldn't get it
I've got
done.
the documentation. I've got
Yep.
all the proposals from the people. I've still got on my desk and,
Mhm.
hey, we tried. We really
Yep,
did.
sure did. You sure did.
I was very disappointed.
All right, the last one is Village of Winter County for $2,505. I don't see any in the village present.
Make a motion to be held over.
Second.
Motion to be held over to the next meeting. Any discussion? Favor?
All right.
Opposed?
Disappointed. That would've been all discussed.
Oh, yeah.
I guess the next meeting.
So next meeting. Have any thoughts, Gary?
Yeah, that next meeting, we had talked about this board has talked about previously to hold a kind of a meeting workshop with all the local communities and economic development groups regarding the, this funding program that we just went through today. To look at the policies, how the program is working. Are there changes to it that would be helpful? So I think it would be sort of a meeting for this board to discuss the existing policies. Engage those that are present. We would invite all the local communities and various economic development folks. And sort of have that discussion about the program. So that's really, I think, what this board should do, moving forward. And, and hopefully we can address some of the issues that have been brought up previously regarding the program and, see where it goes and, gather input, gather thoughts, and hopefully, in the long run, we can make the program better. So that meeting, by the way, would be probably more toward the latter part of April or the first half of May, somewhere in there.
Thank you, Jerry.
Yeah, no problem.
I was gonna beg that please don't have it the week of April 8th.
So April 8th
I'm
is.
going to go see that with my wife and
Mhm.
two dogs. I saw the last
Have,
one. I encourage everyone to
April's an
go.
election and, all that's gonna happen. and
Anywhere I
we
can
wanna get
find
by-
it, it's
by
down
something
south
that-
of here.
So,
Southern Illinois.
so you can look, eventually look for word from us on
That's right.
a meeting and, certainly inventory the board again on, potential dates for a meeting.
Sure.
That would work for most. So you'll see that, come through at some point, in the spring here, so. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Jerry.
So you'll be inviting everyone to come in and speak
Yeah.
if they want?
Yeah, they should.
Yeah.
Others asked me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah, I would also, well, hopefully we have a management analyst picked up by then and hired. But I would like them to attend that meeting too, because I think this board needs to start looking at a lot of the infrastructure grants and things that are out there,
Sure.
for economic development.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Motion made to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yeah, I saw one in 2017. I encourage everyone to see the solar eclipse if you can.